Yeah, this was planned.
It's for real.
Lmanberg got blown up. Again. You would think that by the first time the country got blown up, we would have learned something from that, but here we are. Anyway, here's why Lmanberg's government is hot trash. To begin, let's talk about what a government is. It is something that exists as long as a group of people choose to coexist in a society. Say, for example, a family, or a group of people that like to escape reality by going on Minecraft and role-playing politics. You've got the parents and the children, and the parents do their best to try and keep the children from running into a wall and spontaneously dying. While you can't really call them a government, the meaning is still pretty much there. The government should always look out for the well-being of its people and assume that its people don't have the brain capacity needed for survival.
Why?
Some important principles of good governance, or as I like to call it, POG, include participation in decision-making and equity and fairness. Essentially, it means the people get a say in how the country is run, and everyone is treated fairly. We'll be looking at how the members' governments have not done that, or have not been POG. The first government we will be looking at is Schlatt.
Well, that was pretty easy.
First of all, Schlatt wasn't truly democratically elected, because the voting system was rigged.
Quackity said that no matter what happens, Quackity would pool Swag 2020 votes on with Schlatt 2020 votes.
This means that the voters didn't really know what they were voting for and couldn't truly express their voices on what the government should be.
I'm against this country.
Secondly, he was a tyrant. He exiled the opposing party, who he knew had the support of the majority, basically making it impossible for anyone to legally challenge his power. Other than that, he didn't really do much, other than whatever it was he was doing with Quackity, which I cannot mention in this video without it being not PG. But the act of exiling Wilbur and Tommy is equal to silencing his people, which is the exact opposite of what a government should do. This is where Schlatt failed. This is where Schlatt wasn't POG. And then they had the revolution. Now the thing about a revolution is that there is a flow of events that lead up to a revolution. But I guess it's a dream SMP, so they could just do a revolution speed run. Everyone sees the revolution as a success. So after holding on to this audio clip without actually working on it for a very long time, I realized that I need to clarify this bit. It's not so much that it was a complete success. I mean, the country did get blown up, but it's more along the lines of the fact that afterwards they were able to rebuild the country because they were no longer under the tyrannical rule of J. Schlatt himself. That is what I meant. Carrying on. They see it as a battle won over a horrible government, taking back the country from the hands of a tyrant. And it is. But it's also not. See, the entire thing about a revolution is that you are still forcing a government into place. Lmanberg had two options. Continue under Schlatt's rule, or to stage a revolution. And the revolution was simply the lesser evil. Ultimately, whether or not it was the people's choice, it was still an oppressive way of reclaiming a country. It's pretty much the same thing as forcing out the opposing party, which is exactly what Schlatt did. In Technoblade's words,
"Gear for you guys to go in and replace one tyrant with another. Don't you see what's happening here? Don't you see history repeating itself? You think Schlatt was the cause of your problems? No! It was government!"
Speaking of Technoblade, who was a crucial member of Porktopia, he had opinions on what he wanted the new government to be, which was,
Rebellion!
non-existent.
Down with the dictators!
But if the new government had made a compromise with him, maybe made a guarantee that they would have new laws to prevent corruption, we might not be in this situation today. Actually, it probably would be, because him having his entire revolution against the revolution was scripted. Instead, they completely shut him off, ignoring his views of what the government should uphold, which is, again, not giving a voice to the people, which is, again, not POG. Let's take a look at Lmanberg's new government, with Tabo as president. Now, Tubbo hasn't had that much experience being a leader, and only has his predecessors to guide him, which aren't exactly the best people to follow.
I really don't know what a president does.
It is only natural that he would make some mistakes, especially with Dream, who is literally God in the server, pressuring him to make decisions.
And I know you want peace, and
It doesn't help that his right-hand man doesn't seem to know what laws and consequences are. The first instance where he was evidently not Pog was when he exiled Tommy without really letting Tommy defend himself. They didn't even get him a lawyer.
Take him to jail, take him to jail.
I mean, sure, he let Tommy go ham for a little bit, but they didn't really give that much of a fight against Dream.
Were there any signs which were covered in swear word? Well, I think.
Additionally, Quackity, Fundy, Tommy, and Tubbo had already made a decision together on what they wanted to do against Dream, but Tubbo ignored the decisions at the end and instead made his own.
Best for the nation, the most logical thing to do. For Tommy to be exiled from lmanberg.
This is a direct violation of Pog not listening to his counsel. Even if he was doing it for the sake of his country, even if he was president, he shouldn't have made the decision on his own. The second instance where he wasn't Pog was sending the Butcher Army after Technoblade and placing Filza under house arrest.
the flowers! I'm breaking the flowers!
Why, dude? My windows!
Yeah!
Oh my.
Now, I'm not saying that what Technoblade had done was justified. I mean, he did commit an act of terrorism on an entire country. But where they did go wrong was when they executed him without giving him a trial.
This is not a trial, Technoblade. We are going to kill you.
This is an execution.
This wasn't proper justice. They should have at least imprisoned him for a time being and let him gather defense before coming to a verdict. This act against him, as well as the act against Tommy, was deliberately unfair and ethically wrong, and is definitely not Pog. Let's talk about the people in lmanberg now, about how they brought about their own downfall because they lost faith in their government.
Get out of here.
Am I gonna die? What the fuck?
It's all gonna be gone.
Fundy sabotaged lmanberg's defenses.
We're just gonna lose! It's just gonna be a loss!
Niachu burned down the Lamantry.
It was never meant to be.
And Rambu is having an existential crisis.
The sides have already been created. There's no uncreating them. That's what I was trying to do. That's what I've been doing wrong. I've been trying to create them, and that's just wrong.
The reason these people acted the way that they did is because they've come to realize what Technoblade and Filza have, that their government no longer serves their needs. They came to realize that the government was no longer fighting for its citizens' sake, but for the sake of ideals that they have lost so long ago, ideals that these people once believed in and would have put their lives on the line for. And so we have people defecting to different sides within the country, which is exactly what Rambu realized. And the thing is, Rambu's statement...
That's how it started, Fundy. It was just a team. It was just a team that they formed against Dream and his team. Then it becomes sides, Fundy.
Is absolutely correct. This is actually part of identity politics, where people develop a political agenda based on their identities. You see, when you form a group of people, especially out of resentment for the rest of society, just like how Fundy was trying to team up with Rambu against the rest of lmanberg, the rest who had chosen a side, you tend to form an identity and an agenda. And as your group grows, so does your resentment. And eventually, well, we've seen what it does. Now, I know that this video is supposed to be about why lmanberg's government is horrible, but I also want to take a look at Technoblade and Filza's quote-unquote government. You see, as I said before, a government will always exist as long as there's a group of people. And as you can see, it is a group that is growing. It is a group that will soon have its own government, or perhaps already has its own form of government.
Yes. Sic semper tyrannis.
Now I want to take a look at why their group is so prosperous. Well, first of all, they're anti-government.
I agree. We should not rebuild the Manberg or any government.
Surprise, surprise, they don't like government. But the thing about the way that they survive, the way that they function, is that No one in this group is expected to churn out anything.
Maybe choosing this side isn't gonna be so bad. Yeah.
They're not given a clear agenda, they're not given a clear goal. They don't have a clear agenda or goal. These people are purely coexisting, not because they're forced to by a government, but because they choose to. It's just a bunch of people helping each other and just loving each other, and generally just being a society because they want to be.
Maybe things aren't so bad.
And in a world where all of your resources are just at your fingertips, where you can just go out there and grab things yourself, where skills and resources are just naturally available to you, isn't that the perfect form of government? And isn't that government basically just communism?